Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers Podcast, a podcast where we discuss our thoughts on gaming news. I am Angelus de Mortiel, together with Kev the Gamer.
Yes! Yes!
Major Stupidity.
What's up, everyone?
Death Shroud 09. Sorry, Kev.
What's up?
It's got me on my top.
I don't even know what he's laughing at.
I don't know. All I could imagine
every
is
damn week, it's always something with Kev.
I could just imagine like the bison picture or whatever. Just like yes, yes.
Pretty much. But anyway, we are back again another week with another Pixel Crashers podcast, and yet again, we have occasionally played some video games. Mostly major there. But, you know, once in a while, Kev might play some games when his camera's not frozen.
My camera's not frozen in Skype. I'm over here dancing in it.
Yep, you're frozen, man. But hey, guess what? So while your camera's frozen, why don't you talk about the games you've been playing this week?
I've been jumping all over the place. I got the Steam link, so I've been putting that through its paces. I did my first impressions on my channel earlier this week if you want to check it out. But I've been playing Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams, GTA 4, GTA 5, I played a little bit of Just Cause 3, Mortal Kombat X. What else have I been playing on it? I've just been kind of, like I said, jumping around. Dragon's Dogma. Just playing all kinds of games, mostly because I want to put the Steam link through its paces.
So, for those unfamiliar with the Steam Link and how it works, why don't you kind of give us a rundown of the technology and how you've been playing it and that sort of thing?
It's basically a little stream box. Think of it like a Roku box. You hook it up to your TV with HDMI. I highly suggest using Ethernet cables to your router. And then what it does is it actually streams the game from your PC through your home network to the Steam Link, and then shows up on your TV in Steam Big Picture mode, and then you just play it with a controller like you're playing on a console. Nice. So you get, the comfort and feeling like you're playing on a console with all of the benefits of playing on a PC from your couch. Or you can lug your TV to the living room if you want to, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but you obviously don't need the games on the Steam Link. You have them on your computer, and it kind of, it transmits.
What do you use for the controller input?
I use my wireless 360 controller for a little bit. I use my Xbox One wired controller for a little bit. I hooked up my PS4 controller.
Is the controller directly connected to the PC or
to the Steam Link? Everything goes directly to the Steam Link.
Okay, but are you having to stream your controller input to your computer?
It probably does that.
I was just wondering because that's
no lag.
I'm worried about with latency.
No, there is no latency whatsoever. I didn't notice anything. Unless I went to Wi-Fi. I didn't perfectly notice it.
You might notice some latency if you're using Joe's internet, apparently.
Well, I don't think it's based on your internet connection speed, though, because remember, it's home network, so as long as your internal network is fine, you should be fine. Yeah. And don't use Wi-Fi. I'm pretty sure Joe uses Wi-Fi.
I'm saying that because Joe is garbling up again.
Am I?
I don't know if it's just on my end. I don't know.
No, it's on my end, too. Joe has
No, it's on mine. Joe.
Yeah.
When we were in pre-show, Joe was doing it.
So Joe, you need to tell everybody to stop watching Netflix while you're on the podcast.
Yeah. They need to be watching the podcast.
Stuff like that. But yeah, in any case, so Joe, you've also been playing some games.
Who's this WS in the chat?
That's Travis, man. That's Travis.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how he was a moderator, so I'm like, what?
Yep. That's why he's a moderator, because he's also on this show. So that way, if anybody gets out of line, we can put the hurt on him.
Don't worry. Hopefully that vacuum's not picking up. My wife started vacuuming during the podcast.
No, we can't hear.
Or am I fine?
Yeah.
She's outside of my door vacuuming, and I'm like...
Yeah, you sound like you're talking through a tin can there, Joe. Real quick, before we go too farther there, Joe, you want to turn off your camera and then turn it back on? That might help.
Okay, is my audio garbling?
No. Yeah, it's still garbly.
It's still garbly.
So while Joe plays tech support, Travis, what have you been playing this week?
I'm not going to have the stream open. You're just going to have to tell me what happens in the chat.
Yes. Oh, okay. That's because he's got the yeah.
Yeah, you told me to keep the stream open. No.
Yep. Nope. You're good. You just shut it down. That's fine.
All right, am I still garbling at all?
Nope, you're much clearer now. You're much better. So Joe's been playing one game that's absorbed all of his time.
I've been playing a couple.
And
And
it's
it
not
gave you
Mind
syphilis. And it gave you syphilis, as I understand.
I didn't get syphilis.
Should have worked on them.
My camera's still flipping in and out.
It'll clear up in a minute. I blame AMD. Thank you, AMD, for the wondrous CPU that you've blessed Joe with, and his wonderful issues with running two different video streams at the same time.
Is this when you're gonna say Intel Master Race?
Yeah, because it's unless you get maybe a super high end AMD.
I'm about to say I've heard a lot of people having great success with the 8350. Shout out to Jeremy, because Jeremy just hooked up the 8350 on his rig and he's killing it.
Yeah, he's also got a 390 in there, which
Oh, he loves that thing.
Yep.
All right.
So Joe, you've been playing this game.
Yep. Darkest Dungeon. This past week finally came out of early access after having been in it for a little over a year, and it's pretty great. Like it's a game where it's basically you're simulating someone who hires adventurers because you're supposed to be pointing out your ancestral.
I'm sorry, Joe. I don't want to cut you off, but I can't hear a word you're saying, bro.
Yeah, we might have to have him leave the call momentarily, and then okay. So while he's restarting his Skype to hopefully get a better connection.
I might reboot the router and modem.
Yeah,
All right,
that might
take
work.
your time, dude. Take your time.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll kind of just mash things up there. So Travis, you've been playing this game called Drinking Coffee.
Coffee.
Chai tea, actually, because I'm hipster.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
However, I don't know. I played some Tetris, trying to get into the Russian spirit.
Your laptop can run Tetris?
What was that?
Your laptop runs Tetris? I didn't know. No, I'm saying, well, I just thought about that. There's like 80 million versions of Tetris on the internet. So I'm thinking of Tetris Ultimate, which basically doesn't run on PC at all, I'm hearing. I have it on PS4 because my wife likes to play Tetris.
Tetris Ultimate.
While we're doing,
Loves the hell. I play it a bit.
while he's talking about Tetris, Kev, you should restart your camera.
If I restart my camera, I'm going to have to completely get out of the call.
Really? If
Yeah.
you turn off the camera and turn it back on?
I can try that, but usually it involves. That's why I had to reboot before the thing started. And I'm not frozen on my end. It's just on the live stream. Like I'm looking at myself now.
Nah,
I'll give it a shot.
In the Skype call. I'm looking at it. So Tetris.
Yeah. Like now I'm fine in the Skype call. I don't know what's going on with podcast.
There you go. Now you're good. Although the things are all screwed up because Major's out of the call.
I've been playing Tetris, and I've been playing a game called Knock Knock, which is also a Russian game, funnily enough.
Don't mess with the Russians. I see I'm not moving on the podcast. It's kind of funny. But I'm moving in the call.
Things are just all messed up.
Technical support week. IT fix it. Oh, there we go. I'm moving in the call now. It was that delay.
Yeah, no, it was. So this week on the Technical Issues podcast is our new now discussing line. Is dating Phyllis. What?
I don't want to know who Phyllis is. I'm afraid to ask.
I don't know. But yes, in any case, so Joe is now that Joe's gone. We crack jokes about him dating Phyllis.
Freaking
But
peasant.
so Travis, so how about that Dota mug?
Dota, yeah, I haven't really played too much Dota.
Oh, I'm talking about your
kinda-
mug.
Oh,
You
yeah,
guys are
yes.
Dota bug. Oh shit.
Yeah, if
My
you look
Dota
at,
mug.
I noticed the bottom of it when he was
Yeah.
taking a drink. It's all Dota out.
It's called the Muggernaut, based on the mask of the Juggernaut character from Dota 2.
I still have not gotten heavy into Dota, so I have no idea.
He's a nerd.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, he
Or-
is.
I mean,
Worth
gamers are
different.
nerds by default.
I just
Like,
had
do you see,
the.
do you see the size of this thing, right? It's massive.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's. I tend to go the cheap route with generic brand coffee. It just says,
I'm drinking tap water, so you can't beat tap
"Man,
water.
you don't want to do that shit in Tacoma. That'll kill you."
Have you checked your lead levels recently, Kev?
Like, Tacoma's tap water is not the best. Then again, pretty much any city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, yes. Sean has come for the syphilis jokes. We're gonna have to wait on Joe for that because he's the one that contracted syphilis. So we'll have
Yeah.
to wait a few minutes for the syphilis jokes.
Trojan man.
So Travis, how's it going with that computer in progress?
Right now I am wrestling with PayPal
Yeah,
and
that's what I was gonna say. You have something to bitch about with PayPal.
yeah, no, nothing with PayPal. It's probably my own user error, putting in the wrong numbers and trying
So,
to find the right routing number and all that good stuff.
Did
Because
you
it's
did you
issue
try?
exists between keyboard and chair. Confirmed.
Yeah, it's an ID 10T error.
Yeah, pretty much.
well, I'm attempting to try to find the right routing number and all that good stuff because I don't use checks, so I don't have routing numbers sitting right beside me because I'm a modern consumer.
So
But
you use a debit card like everyone else.
I do use a
Or
debit
if you
card.
have a modern bank, you can actually send money through the bank. You know.
Or if you have a modern bank, you can just take a picture of your check with your cell phone. Just
Well, no, he's not taking a picture. He's not
oh, no,
talking about a check.
he's paying for the
Yeah,
computer.
he's sending money to Xiphon
Exactly.
to build him a computer. Well, no, I think you're sending Xiphon to get you the parts, or is Xiphon actually building you the computer?
No, well, he's gonna buy the parts anyways. 'Cause, I mean, I could order all the parts and send them to him, but I'm not really. I really don't care.
Yeah,
Right.
send him to him. He builds the computer, send it back. That sounds like a waste of shipping money.
Yeah,
Times
that's
two.
whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Um, but whatever. We'll get to it eventually.
So you're gonna join the NVIDIA Master Race?
I'm already
Team
in
Red.
in the NVIDIA Master Race. By the way,
Yeah.
my laptop has an NVIDIA in it, so
But what about
yeah.
Team Red?
I'm running a GTX 930.
Hey, it's better than nothing. I'm just throwing that out there.
I might run Team Red on my next build.
On my Lenovo that I have, it's got a Skylake, or sorry, not Skylake, Broadwell i7 in it. Which, by the way, on laptops, an i7 is not even as powerful as the i3 in my desktop, but it has Intel integrated graphics, which, by the way, are still as shitty as they always have been.
I don't know why they even offer them anymore. Like, why is this still a thing?
Well, it is actually good
for
for
Warcraft?
well, no, it's good for decoding and encoding. So if you're doing if you're trying to say render video or graphics and that sort of thing, it's better than not having an integrated graphics module. So
Is it one of those things like Internet Explorer? You're better off using it to download Chrome, but you're better off without it?
no, not necessarily, because especially in the enterprise environment, a lot of people tend to want to use that sort of thing.
I have no idea why, with all the holes in it.
No, actually, that is a myth. See, Internet Explorer has the capability to be the most secure browser available because there's so many holes in both Firefox and Chrome, and Safari and Opera and any of the other guys out there. So that's the thing, is that Internet Explorer actually can be very secure. It's not the security that's the issue with Internet Explorer. It's just the functionality and how it doesn't have any.
Well,
That's the issue.
the new was it Edge?
Yeah.
Edge browsers. It's okay. I don't
That-
use it.
No, it's
okay.
great.
Edge is-
It's just
Edge
not
is great.
finished.
Yeah, Edge is great. I need my browser extensions. Like, I'm addicted to Chrome and the extensions.
Yeah.
Like,
Well-
you're a hard time getting me off Chrome.
Since it's taking Joe forever to get back, I'm actually going to readjust you guys' camera so the people can actually see you guys. So anyway, as far as games I've been playing this week,
Or you get to play games? You work like 25 hours a day.
right? Yeah, no, you're not even kidding. But I actually have gotten occasional moments to play video games, and it has been enjoyable.
So has it been like the meme, I have a job so I can play video games, but I have a job so I can't play video games?
Yeah, exactly. No, I actually was playing a bit of Warframe. And then I was playing some Magic this week. I went back and brought up Magic Duels just because I was like, sure, why not? I haven't touched it in forever, so let me go ahead and, actually try it out again. That was entertaining. Got my ass kicked by the computer on there. I love the fact that the computer has to be the most brutally difficult thing in the world, and it's fantastic. Yeah. So, since Joe may or may not be back, let's go ahead and get back into the actual stories this week here. So let's go ahead and start off about one that Kev brought to my attention here, which is fantastic, and I know everybody will love this. NetherRealm Studios, the fucktards themselves, again burning PC players by announcing that no further will be DLC will be available for the PC. That's the Combat Pack 2 is not coming out for the PC, nor is the Mortal Kombat XL. Like it's
the year 2 edition, basically.
Yeah, the year 2 game, you can call it like Game of the Year edition, comes with all the DLCs. Well, PC won't be getting that because that also includes Combat Pack 2. And so they pretty much gave the PC community the finger.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Yeah. Go on.
Because the biggest problem here and the biggest thing that I'm seeing people complain about is not that they're not getting the DLC. Like, fuck DLC. It's that they're not getting the netcode fix that they've been working on that's going to the consoles. So the whole problem that most people have with Mortal Kombat since launch is that you can't fucking play it online because, the connections are so bad, the servers are so bad, ping is like through the roof. And now that they found a fix for it, it's only going to Xbox One and PS4, no reason given. Now, if it would have been like a technical issue, hey, we just fucked up in the coding, okay, I might give that a pass. But the fact that they did it this way is just kind of a slap to the face of the PC community, and I feel bad because I did kind of go buy it for the Xbox One, but I did that because the community left PC. I love the game. I still want to play the game, but I want to be able to play it online. So yeah, NetherRealm, you are on my shit list. Granted, thank God I found it at Best Buy for $15.
That's the story of your gaming life, isn't it? I found this for a better deal elsewhere.
Yeah, we know I'm a penny pincher. We know I'm a bargain hunter. I don't pay full price for shit.
Yeah. So my question is, do you think this was like, because obviously the big issue that you have with things like this, whenever they have to cut support for a platform, it's usually because they have a smaller user base or whatever. It's not financially an option for them. They have to cut somewhere. Mm-hmm. But my question is, do you think this was a smart move for kind of a well-known AAA franchise like this? Do you think this was a smart move for them?
Yes and no. I actually did a video on this a few days ago, and I got slaughtered in the comment section because my whole stance on it is fix the netcode, fuck the DLC. I don't care about the DLC. But I would like them to fix the netcode. And that seems to be, I think, what a lot of people were trying to say. Also, I just didn't kind of phrase it right. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that it's good to drop support. And there's some people that are flat out saying, I just want support. Just support the damn game. I don't care how much money you're making on it. And I don't think that's really, I don't think that's realistic. If there's a small player base, they have to wonder, okay, is the player base going to come back? Probably not. So do we put all this money into the game to hopefully bring the player base back, give them the opportunity to come back? I'd love that. But I think most people have probably just moved on.
Well, and I think this kind of came to the whole drama that came about with Dragon Age whenever they cut support for the Xbox 360 and the PS3 right before releasing the final DLC or the final 2 DLC, so it kind of screwed them out of the end of the game.
Yeah, they got like the first DLC pack and then okay, we're done.
Yeah.
But I think that was kind of shitty too, but I almost understand. It's like, I don't think that game should have ended up on those consoles in the first place. Just because they probably struggled to run them pretty damn hard.
Well,
that's an intense game.
The thing is that they started development for it before the Xbox One and PS4 were released.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
That's what happened there, and that's what happens when you have those cusp games like that. Fortunately enough, we're out of that. We're out of the cusp zone, so we shouldn't be seeing any more cross-platform games unless the developer really wants to do it for some reason. But
Right.
Travis,
The only games I'm seeing like that now are like Lego games and
yeah,
so I think Life is Strange was on the 360 and PS3 and stuff like
but that
that.
was also kind of a cusp game too. That came out even before the first iteration. That came out before Inquisition, I think.
I mean, Black Ops 3 is even on those two consoles, but but they're not getting any of the post-launch content. They literally just got the base game, no
I'm
DLC,
surprised they even got that.
no campaign. It's just multiplayer and zombies base game. Period.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Travis? Do you think it's a smart move for a AAA franchise to release on a platform that the developer really doesn't intend on supporting?
No, not really. Like, it, it's, I mean, uh, trying to think of an analogy here. Like, mm,
Hmm.
is it a good, maybe from like a business perspective, from like a base, like bottom line, perspective, it could be, yeah, sell to the customers and then just drop support after you've got all the money from them initially. But that's not going to help you at all in terms of like PR, right?
Right. I mean, that's not going to help. Like, people already have an issue with Warner Brothers. Just remember, this is a Warner Brothers published game. Let's think of Batman. What
Hmm.
else is there? Mad Max was actually a decent port, which people were
Yeah.
surprised.
Mad Max actually
Shadow
runs
of
quite well.
Mordor. Remember how they tried to hide Shadow of Mordor, and
That
that was a
was
great port. That was a great game on PC.
that was just a big fuckery of you're not allowed to say anything about this game unless it's positive.
Right.
Well, conveniently, we have a lot of positive things to say. We don't know what the fuck your problem was.
Right. It's like, at what point are we going to? And I understand. I'm starting to understand now why so many PC gamers just despise the AAA industry because
Hmm.
they're basically focusing on consoles.
Yep. Well, it's and the thing is this is the strange conundrum of the industry is the fact that AAA developers neglect the PC market, which thus breeds this enmity from the PC market for AAA games, which then leads to developers wanting to support the PC market less, which just is a vicious circle. It keeps
Right.
going around and around, and it's kind of like, why would you think that that was like it there's obviously it is empirically provable that the largest platform is PC. There are the most players
Oh,
playing on PCs.
and you'd be surprised how many people don't realize that. Like,
But
they're like, nobody plays PC, and then they see the numbers, they're like, oh my god, or they think that they're fluffed up, and people are lying to them and stuff like that. 700 million PC players, according to Intel, like 2 years ago, and I'm sure it's grown since then. Like, at some point, these developers have to, at some point, understand that. And to make matters worse, look at what happens when you get a good port on the PC. Well, when you look at something like GTA 5,
that was
look at
actually
some, that was
yeah.
a great port.
It was a great port, but good God, it took them over a year after the consoles had it, though.
It was worth the wait.
Yeah, like I would
It
prefer to
is.
have them do it right as opposed to Batman Arkham Knight.
Right,
Like,
and that's what I'm getting at. Like, the game in now, it has so much content. I mean, does it really bother you sometimes have to wait a little bit longer to get a better version of the game? It doesn't bother me.
I guess my whole thing is that even from a business perspective, you put your effort where the money is,
Hmm.
right? So there's kind of this thing like this, I guess, this misconception in the PC industry that they don't want to put money into it because they kind of are feeding off of the bullshit that the player bases are also spewing that PC players are all pirates, which is not true and is easily provable that it's not true.
Gabe been swimming in our money right now.
Yeah, like that. Oh, they never want to pay full price for a game. They will, try whatever they can to get less money for it.
But I did that for my
Whatever.
consoles too.
Yeah, but well, it's like these misconceptions that are either not true or they're not specific to PC. And it's like that's such a cash cow of a market. Like the reason why the indie movement is going to be huge on PC, and I have a feeling it's going to have difficulty
yeah.
really getting moving on consoles, is because console players tend to have better support and better focus from AAA industries, which kind of strangles out a lot of the potential for indie developers to get their name out there. Whereas on PC, the AAA industry seems to give PC players the finger a lot, so where are they left with? Indie developers. You look at now, Warframe, for example, is that Digital Extremes is an indie developer. I guess I know they got bought by someone, but they're still
And they're getting raped daily by Jim Sterling.
who Digital Extremes.
Or no, I'm thinking of somebody else. Digital Homicide's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no, that's a whole nother fuckery right there.
Yeah, but that's who I was thinking of.
That he's. I think that's that
He's tearing
whole
those guys a new one.
that whole drama, has long since passed now. I think there was some back and forth going on there, but no, Digital Extremes is is an indie developer from Canada that actually does fairly well. Most people don't realize they've actually developed AAA games. They actually developed The Darkness 2, and most people don't even realize that. But it's like they put a lot of effort into their PC game and put focus on the PC version of the game. Then they developed the console launches for Xbox or PS4 first, then Xbox One. And then whenever patches come out, it's always PC first and then consoles, because it's so much easier from a design perspective, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. That's our evergreen topic, the life of a developer and such. But it's so much easier when you don't have to deal with the bullshit of certifying with Sony or Microsoft before you can deploy a patch, which may have a bug that you didn't know about. Whereas on PC, they deploy this patch. Oh, it's got a bug. Hot fix it. We can hot fix it in 5 minutes. Go in and tweak that little code, push it back out, bam, everybody's good. Whereas consoles, no, there's a bug. Oh yeah, hot fix. That's going to take 2 weeks.
Right. I think part of that problem is that console players are more willing to take it.
They expect it, yeah. But
right. Well, it's not even so much that they expect it, but sometimes I feel like the PC community can be a little bit entitled, a little bit. Not that they should,
all of them can be. Let's be honest.
Right, but I mean, sometimes I think PC sometimes has just sometimes unrealistic expectations, where the consoles are just like, well, give me what you have. It's the level of expectation is way different. Now I'm not saying we shouldn't have games look right, perform right, at reasonable prices with full game content. I'm not saying that none of those things shouldn't be there.
Well, the thing is I would say that there is entitlement in every it's the consumers in general are entitled. Let's be honest. That's why anybody who's in a service-based industry gets annoyed by the phrase "the customer is always right."
Because they're not always right.
No, and that's the biggest retardation of a statement ever. And I mean retardation as in backwards moving. It's the most backwards moving statement. No, the customer is more important. The customer is not always right.
Sometimes the customer needs to be taught how to do better.
Yeah, well, it's more or less they should be your focus. You should definitely be trying to retain their business, but that doesn't mean that they're always right. And that kind of mentality has bred this consumer concept of entitlement, I think, and that's in console, like twisting into gaming. You see in consoles with, for example, say Uncharted comes out, great game. If, for example, if Uncharted were to be ported to Xbox, how would the PC community react? They would get pissed off. Because it's their baby. Somehow they are responsible for its well-being. And
you mean the PS4 community?
Yeah, the PS4 community would react viciously to, and that's what happened with Metal Gear Solid back in the day. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, got ported to the original Xbox from the PS2. I saw so much vitriol over that because that's a Sony game.
Right. I
You
actually
know,
caught it like a week ago. I tweeted out to Xbox. I said, "Hey, is there any news?" Or actually, I should say, my boy Famian T. He tweeted out saying, "Hey, is there any news on any new games coming to Xbox?" And I jumped on that, saying, "Hey, is there any news of any like cross-plat games, in particular the Master Chief Collection on PC?"
mm-hmm.
Oh, and I got into it with this guy on Twitter. Well, he attacked me. I trolled him, and he blocked me. I sent him some Tomb Raider and 4K screenshots. That ended that real quick.
Yeah. But no, like that's the thing though, is that you so that entitlement's there as well. Like, those the console fanboys with their exclusives, they feel entitled to those exclusives and they should not be allowed on any other platform because
Right.
they're my exclusive. It's like you didn't make the game.
Right.
What are you going on about?
Like, at what point do we start arguing over access as opposed to restriction? And a lot of the console fanboys are in favor of restriction.
But well, and that's kind of where I was going with bringing it back to the NetherRealm thing is that at some point, do you guys think that that the entitlement of the consumers is starting to kind of spread to the, I guess, entitlement of the developers, where they kind of are starting to expect that they can do whatever, and they're essentially like, hey, it's not making us enough money, so we're
Well, I mean,
entitled to cut that.
if you think about it in terms of how like a market economy works, the consumer is inherently entitled, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how it works, right?
Hmm.
You should be entitled to certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, in a market economy, you're legitimately entitled to a lot, right? You're entitled to expecting a working product, accurate advertisement, and
I don't know what
um,
video games you've been playing, but working product is definitely not something that's really entitled much nowadays.
Not in the AAA
I,
space.
it might not be it might not be given, but that doesn't mean it's not entitled, right?
Fair enough.
Um, so that's kind of a thing that I'd like to point out is that yes, the consumer does have some legitimate entitlement when it comes to the product. Um, I think that the fact that a company would ever think that they are entitled to their customers' money is in a realistic world, that would be spell recipe for defeat, right? Like the death of a company if it
Mhm.
got too far. And once the consumers, or if now I hate that I have to say that, but if the consumer, notices that the company's being retarded, it's gonna be
Yeah.
bad, right? The
Well, and
company should
that's
be
something
downhill.
else. You hit a nail on the head there. If the consumer notices, right? How often is it recently? Like I was just who was I talking with not long ago about them doing like with the division. When I was talking about the division, and I made mention that that in the E3 demo, they had shown some potential for second screen functionality whenever it showed the guy fly in it with a UAV and his display name showed up with tablet in parentheses after his display name, and it kind of hinted at some second screen functionality. But now, whenever they're asked about it, they're like, no, we never said anything about that. It's like,
Oh yeah,
you don't gotta lie, man. You couldn't put it in the game. That's fine. Just be like, hey, we were trying it out. It didn't work. So we just stripped it out.
right, and
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's just like, be honest. You ain't got a lot to kick it.
Exactly.
It's like, that's going back to the 90s for all you young kids out there. Don't know that
I was
phrase.
I was in diapers at that point, man.
But
If not born yet.
that's an older phrase.
I was only alive for half of the 90s, so
But no, that's
They got us feeling old because I was born in the early '80s.
yeah. But no, that's the thing I guess where the entitlement comes in is it kind of shows most clearly to me in the transparency, because essentially nowadays they essentially are completely opaque under the guise of a lot of them are publicly traded companies, like BioWare, for example, is a prime example. Publicly traded company, under EA. And therefore, they can't divulge a lot of detail into processes or whatever because it might give someone an unfair market advantage or whatever. It's like, first of all, if you post something publicly on the internet, it is therefore no longer going to give anybody an unfair advantage in, say, trading, stock trading, because guess what? Anybody can see that information. It's not closed market. But my thing is, the main reason they're doing it is because they're trying to hide anything that would be a semblance of weakness, when in actuality they're hiding anything that could be a semblance of humanity.
Facts.
That, I don't know. That's the problem I have. That's the major issue I have with NetherRealm's decision, is like just randomly burn PC players in the just blind attempt to save any kind of profit loss. Don't care who they piss off. Fuck all you PC players in this, like I said, and that goes back to the, we're entitled to do this because we're a business and we need to make money.
And isn't that kind of the American way too, where people nowadays defend corporations for flat out being anti-consumer at times?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Whenever someone defends a corporation, I'm like, don't do that. That corporation don't give two fucks about you.
Right. I mean, I'm maybe it's because I'm empathetic. So I try to look at it from like, okay, does it make business sense to necessarily do something?
I could probably go into a very long and very long philosophical debate with you guys about this right now, but I will refrain until after.
That's what the podcast is for. Philosophical debates. Do it.
Well, I think that this, and I might just be throwing this out there now. I think that it's possible that a lot of this sentiment that people are saying and throwing out in defense of the corporations, it might be some sort of reaction or defense mechanism for people whenever they see a system around them possibly crumbling, right? The economy's questionably doing questionably well at times, and things are tough, so people tend to do the best that they can to make more firm the system that they've grown up with and the system they believe in. So trying to defend companies and keep the machine running as it is possibly something in their best interest.
I think it has more to do with people just don't want to change. They won't want to accept new things that are coming. For example, oftentimes I get a lot of comments, say on Twitter, YouTube, whatever. Whenever I talk about, PC gaming, a lot of the time it's, oh, well, PC's so expensive, PC's so this, or I've always played on console. And
that's exactly what it is. I've always played on console.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of it is. When, like 10 years ago, it might have been more expensive to play on console 10 years ago. Or, excuse me, on PC 10 years ago, but that's not the case now.
Even, honestly, I think that's, even 10 years ago, maybe if you're talking, like 20 years ago, back, like, if we look back in, like, say, the Nintendo era, I think the Nintendo brand new cost like $400.
Not even. It was like $250.
Maybe it was $250. I can't remember what it cost brand new when it was first launched.
The original was like $250.
Yeah, so if you look at that comparative to a PC back then,
that's totally
huge discrepancy there, because even a fucking crummy PC back then would have been, a couple $1,000, whatever. But once you hit about the mid 2000s, the cost of PCs really drastically started to drop. So and I mean drastically started to drop, like to the point where, early, what might have cost in the year 2000, a PC that would have cost $2,500, not top of the line, mind you, that might have a baseline graphics card in it. By 2005, that would have been cut down to $500, or not $500, $1,000. So it went down by, what would that be, 70%? So that's a huge drop in price. So that's been an old standing myth that PCs are too expensive. Now,
Right. I look at it as, yeah, the hardware costs more on the PC, but you're getting all those back end savings versus you pay less upfront on the console, but then for everything that you want to do on the console, it costs more.
and you have to pay $60 a year to or 50 or $60 a
That's what
year.
that's what I'm getting at. The renewing cost, like for Xbox
Mm.
Live, they need or PlayStation Network is 50. Games are generally are $60. Yeah, you can get a sale, but even the sales most of the time still aren't competitive
Or like a
because they have no
15
one
or
to compete
20%
with.
drop.
Well,
Yeah.
something that I find interesting is that nowadays we have a consumer culture where people like to have things in one, have a lot of stuff in one setup, right? Like our
Right.
smartphones now, like now they have cameras on them and we can record and play video and it's
Wait,
all,
wait.
we're constantly,
PC, that's computers.
Cell phones have cameras in them now? Man, Travis, you're sounding like an old person so
I
much.
know
sorry.
because they've been in phones for like
15
10 years.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, let me get to what I was saying,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
But but we're talking about long-standing, was it misconceptions that people have had about PCs. What I don't understand is why people don't know that PCs are like the ultimate space-saving device, right?
Hmm.
Because you can do everything on a PC. You can, make a PC your entertainment center. You can make a PC your, for video games, for television, for whatever else you need. You can use a PC for it. All you need is the right wires to hook
Right.
it up.
My PC is my gaming machine slash entertainment center. I have the Xbox and PS4. I basically use them for exclusives. That's like 90% of what I do on there.
Mhm.
Or if there's a game that like I want to play, 'cause I know more people on Xbox than PC. So if there's a game like say like a big community focused game, or like I know a lot of people are gonna get it on Xbox, I might just play it on Xbox, or I might play it on PS4.
So
Well,
yeah, like what I instead of spending, like 30 bucks, you buy your Xbox, your Xbox One, and then you go buy this other, entertainment package thing, and you pay for your cable. You can, in all honesty, condense that all into a single PC, and
Right.
on top of that, have all of your browsing usages that you would do at home as well.
Right. That's basically what I do. Like I said, it's my entertainment box. I haven't paid for cable in like 2 years. I have Hulu and Netflix. If there's a show on TV that I want to watch that's not on Hulu and Netflix, Amazon Video almost always has it.
Yeah.
I can pay for the show, like
well,
$20 for the
the
season.
yeah, but and something else I kind of see on that is like, for example, I'm looking at upgrading my computer this year, which at this point is just building a new computer, and I'm going to build a pretty fucking high end computer. I'm looking at for a high end computer, we're talking 980 Ti or equivalent, like an i7 or equivalent, high end computer is $1,500. That's it.
Hmm.
10 years ago, that would have bought me maybe a mid grade computer.
Yeah, and people think that that's what you have to spend to get in. It's
Yeah,
like, no, I would say to get into PC gaming,
500.
depending on what you want to play, $400.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want to play. Now, if you want to play, mostly AAA games, I would say, yeah, spend 600. 500. You can get in for 500. But the problem is with that people are like, oh, well, yeah, well, I can get an Xbox One for 350. Yeah, but you're paying $60 per game. PC games are like 35 when they come out if you look in the right places. If
You
you go to
just
the right digital stores.
you just kind of think of the lifespan of a console,
Hmm.
for example, of like is usually 6 to 10 years.
About 6 years, unless you count last generation. Last generation was just an anomaly.
Yeah, but if you take it that way, you spend 350 for the console over the lifetime of that console. If it's 6 years, that's double your price. You're going to spend an extra $360 just for the fucking subscription. Just for the subscription. I'm not counting buying any games, buying a new controller, any other peripherals like that. That is
Which
just for the Xbox Live.
something I'd like to point out, generally peripherals for like, and I know there's third party for Xbox and stuff, but from what I've seen, like the high grade, or not even high grade, just like the standard Xbox fare, almost always has a proprietary markup on it,
Well,
like
that's
Xbox
that's for
controllers and Xbox hard drives, and all that
actually
stuff.
that's first party anything. If you go try to buy a Surface Book or Surface Pro or whatever, compare those to any OEM like HP or Lenovo or whatever computer manufacturer out there for the same hardware, same form factor, but just not first party. It like Microsoft marks up. It's just like if there was a third party for this, which there's not, but like your MacBook or whatever, that's always going to have that first party markup. That's
Well, from
always happening.
from what I noticed though, when it comes to consoles, it might have changed in recent years because I've been out of the console market for a while now.
It hasn't.
Um,
Mhm.
well, you don't know what I was gonna say.
I do have a mind reader.
Well, the third party for consoles has not really been all that much comparable to the standard proprietary. It's
Mhm.
been less quality in my personal experience. It's had less quality than uh, the regular
Yeah.
Xbox Microsoft branded good old stuff.
Yeah, like whenever you see the first party peripherals for consoles, the first party tends to be the best quality, unless you go really high in price. The really high price specialty peripherals,
Right.
Those tend to be better quality, but good God, you're paying out the ass for them.
Whereas I noticed on PC, a lot of the peripherals you can get like quote unquote third parties for that are good quality for a good price.
Well, hell,
There's a
first
lot more
party,
flexibility.
I've got, even though I don't use it for gaming, I've got a Microsoft Sidewinder keyboard that was $20.
Right.
The reason why I went with a cheaper keyboard is because I use the G13 for gaming. I don't need a fancy keyboard for gaming. And the Sidewinder does well enough, and it's backlit, and that's all I really cared about. But that was $20. And that was first party Microsoft. And it's good quality. It's held up to the really horrible typing job that I do. Yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead and get moving on, since we've deviated on that topic quite thoroughly. And let's go ahead and discuss. And the reason why we took longer on that one is because unless Joe comes back in here soon, which it's not looking like it's going to happen, we're going to nix the third story that we're going to talk about, because how are we going to talk about Darkest Dungeon without the person who's actually played it here?
Is
But-
he not gonna be coming back?
I don't know. It's been
I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, it's been 40 minutes and he's still not back on.
Well,
So,
he didn't text me either. You usually text me.
yep.
So
But in any case, so let's go ahead and get talking on to our next story there, which was about the veteran writer David Gaider left BioWare this past week after 17 years. He's been with the company since 1999, before EA bought them. And my kind of question posed to you guys, like, obviously some people liked his style of writing where he was involved. Some people weren't a big fan of his, whatever. But do you guys think this is a kind of a sign of a transition of guards, so to speak, at BioWare? Because he was obviously there for BioWare's golden age, with Baldur's Gate and KOTOR and all of that. Do you think this is a sign for potential change of the company?
I've been noticing a lot of people leaving BioWare over the last couple years, and it's concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm especially concerned because we know Mass Effect's my favorite IP. It's supposed to come out at the end of the year. What is that going to spell for Andromeda? Like, what's going to happen with Andromeda? Because wasn't there another writer that left like a month ago?
Oh, no. Karpashin, he actually left back in the development, he left after Mass Effect 2. Or during Mass Effect 3, whatever. He was gone from BioWare for a few years, and then he came back. There was a producer for BioWare that left in December. I'm trying to remember who it is, and I can't remember for the life of me right now. But yeah, he was the one that left in December. But I suspect it was probably due to visa issues, not because he was actually wanting to leave the company, but because he was a U.S. resident working in Canada.
Right, and I remember I did see something about him having he wanted to go home with his family, or he couldn't stay in Canada. It was something to that nature.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think that was, and so And I want to dispel something here because first comment that, of course, I saw on Facebook whenever someone was talking about the story was, that for some reason he left due to EA. And I'm like, listen, EA bought BioWare in 2007. That was 6 years ago. If he had problems with the way EA was doing things, he would have left a long time before now, because with the resume that he has, he could get a job writing for any developer he wanted.
I just want to know, we have Amy Hennig now, the girl that wrote the bulk of the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
Can we kind of get her? She works for EA now. Can we push her over to Mass Effect?
Well,
Well,
Carpation is also
write
back too.
Did she write The Last of Us also?
Might have, I can't remember, but I know Carpation, who he actually, I think it's Carpation. I'm hopefully not butchering his name too badly. He was the one that actually did Mass Effect 1 and 2.
And I'd love to have them. I'd love to get them on those games, and maybe Dragon Age. And the girl that created Assassin's Creed is there too, but she's working on the Star Wars game. I'd love to see them on some.
Well, and with respect,
Chinese.
I actually think they might have brought her on specifically for SWTOR, and I think actually that's where Carpashin's working now too. He's in BioWare Austin on the SWTOR project, because they're actually trying to focus heavily on story now with SWTOR. Not that it was really horrible with their story before, but they've cranked it up even more. Like, I've done some playthrough of the Knights of the Fallen Empire recently, and it's pretty impressive. They have actually done a pretty damn good job of the story on there.
You're talking about the MMO?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's, like I said, it's still an MMO. But I actually kind of like some of the mechanics they added in there, with the way that they've tried to tie a lot of things in there, like having, previously it was like, okay, you had decisions that would arbitrarily give you light side or dark side points and really not wholly affect anything else other than you being evil or good. That was pretty much it. Now they actually are trying to have decisions that have maybe later repercussions. Like, if you choose to let these guys die, some dude later on down the line may be pissed off at you. They've tried to have a little bit more involved story than just go here, kill monster, fetch item, return to quest giver.
But that's every MMO on the market that I know of.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm happy about it, is they're trying to get away from that typical MMO BS. So if Carpashin and that lady from Uncharted actually are helping with that, more power to them. I think that's a good plan. I hope to dear God. Well, fortunately enough, we don't have to worry about Casey Hudson with Mass Effect Andromeda. From what I understand, now this is rumors and speculation, but from what I understand, the Deus Ex Machina 3-color ending was largely his influence. That's rumor. Don't know if that's confirmed, but one way or another, he's not there anymore. So
Right, he left some time ago.
yeah, he was also another one that left. And that's another thing, is that if you've got, like, Carpashin's obviously old guard. He's been with them since, I believe, also Baldur's Gate. He was with Black Rock. What was they called? Whoever did that. But with Baldur's Gate back in the day. So he's also another kind of old guard, old school writer. And to be clear, BioWare is one of the few developers that actually keeps hired writers on staff. Most people don't realize that in video games, they usually hire writers when they need them for a project, and if they need them, sometimes they don't hire writers, and you can tell. Warframe. Warframe. Yeah, they definitely need to.
Grind frame.
They need to hire some writers desperately. But yeah, that's I don't know. I kind of feel like it might be a sign, because I don't know the extent of which Gaider was involved. I know that he was in Inquisition, but a lot of people were claiming that a lot of the kind of political stuff that was in that game, like, when I mean political, I mean like the, hey, here's a transgender person. Look at this transgender person. Did you know that they're transgender? Like,
yeah, that was too much attention on that. Like, I liked him because he was a character.
The thing is that honestly, you could actually play through the game without ever noticing that. I think people kind of blew it up a little bit too much. but if you talk to him, like it was almost immediately a conversation topic. I really think they could have been more subtle about that rather than throwing in your face.
Stereotyped the hell out of him. Like he was the
Yeah.
stereotypical gay character.
Not gay. Just to clarify that, not gay.
He's not.
No.
Okay, I messed that stuff up.
Creme is not well, physically, Creme is a she. Physically. Mentally, a he. Not necessarily for sexual preference, but actually in their mental mind, they are a he. That's what transgender means. It doesn't
I didn't
necessarily
even
mean gay.
think of that one. I was thinking of the mage. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, are you?
The flamboyant dude.
Yeah. That was. There's a lot of freaking tropes in that game, like Sarah, the angsty lesbian. Like,
Right. And she was a great. And I'm surprised she wasn't a talking topic. She was a good character.
she was.
But it felt like they just threw these in there just to make people feel, oh, I'm included.
Well, it's two parts. It's well, I mean, you got to think about it. It's easy, right? It's easy publicity. It's easy writing. It's very easy to write stereotypes, right? It's very, very, very easy to write a focused stereotypical character that takes no effort. So, like, yeah, in terms of like efficiency, in terms of writing to what you get out of it, totally. Like, yeah, just go all out for that, and people eat it up, and it'll give you all sorts of media controversy and discussion, and push your game into the forefront of people's minds. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's just how things work in our internet age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the thing is too is that to be clear with a lot of it, sometimes you write in tropes, and I can understand them trying to want to include some real life characters of people you might want to run into. And if they'd been a little bit more subtle about, say, Creme, being a chick who's transgender, well, just being a transgender. Not sure exactly the correct gender reference to use on that. It's a born female but mentally a guy, whatever. If they had done that a little bit more subtly rather than throwing it in your face, it would have been one of those scenarios in real life that you might walk into where some people will run into that what they assume to be a guy and just seems strangely feminine and with that little taste of androgyny, and it kind of makes you feel uncomfortable for some people. Because they're not used to that scenario and they don't quite understand it. And I can get behind that in the game just because that's real. That's something you might encounter in real life. But I'm transgender, everybody look at me. Oh, hey, Dorian's gay, everybody look at him.
That's just obnoxious, though.
Yeah, it's the look at me, oh my gosh, look at me. That's where it kind of annoys me.
Right. It's like, you're gay. Great. Okay. Well, what else is there about you? You got to be more than just a gay guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he did have a decent story going on.
Oh no! I love Dorian. Dorian was one of my favorite characters in the game.
He actually had a great story, and I liked it. But the problem is that you had to get through the bullshit pandering to the LGBT audience. The goofy pandering to actually get to the good part of his story, when I felt like the good part of his story should have been the forefront, and the fact that he was gay should have been a kind of back burner thing. Like, yes, he's gay, it's not a big deal, who cares, move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's honestly how I felt about it. It's like, I don't care that you're gay. I care about the content of your character.
Yeah, and I think, and some people had claimed, and I do not know the extent at which David Gaider was involved in the writing. Some people claimed that he was one of the people responsible for the pandering content in those. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the people with Mafia 3.
As Zyphon put it, yeah, it's not transgender, that's an attention whore. Yes, exactly.
And I feel like they do that sometimes for shock value, like with Mafia 3, how everybody made a big deal about the main character being black. Like, well, what about him?
Well, it's because
what makes him unique?
Yeah, well, the thing is that obviously that I can see the buzz about that, because obviously, traditionally, a mafia character is Italian.
Right, but actually
You
he
know,
has a lot to do with kind of the story because there's a black mob in New Orleans and all
well,
these other
no,
things.
and that's the thing. That's where they take it at face value, right? They're like, oh, the game's named Mafia. That has to do with like the New York or Chicago mafia. That's all, you know,
Overhyped and
it's all,
stereotyped.
all Italians, right? That's all they or maybe they're. You also have the Irish mob or the Russian mob. All three Caucasian. Yes, I know Italian people may disagree with the whole Caucasian bit. I'm sorry, you're European. Okay, that's generalized Caucasian there. Yeah, you're Mediterranean, whatever. But the thing is that those are three Caucasian groups in there. Whereas you go down to New Orleans and you get some of like the African American groups down there. Like I know there's a Haitian. No, that's is that New Orleans or is that Miami? I can't remember.
Miami.
It might be, but and then
Yeah.
but anyway, you have those ones like that. Mafia 3 made sense if you got past the whole name. That was just judging the game off of its name. It's called Mafia and it's starring a black guy. Oh my god.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but like anything like New Orleans slash like Louisiana swampy themed, I think is a very, very fun and oftentimes underutilized setting.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
I was actually talking to a friend about using that setting for Fallout in a Fallout game the other day.
Yeah. By
Well,
the
I
way,
mean-
just random side note, Kev, have you played Mass Effect multiplayer recently?
Not in about a month or so.
But last time you played it though, it was still pretty active, wasn't it? On
Yeah,
PC.
you can still farm matches. I mostly play gold now.
Yeah,
So
because one of the chatters was asking if you could still play it on PC.
yeah, I saw multiplayer. I thought he was talking about Inquisition. My bad.
No. He's talking about Mass Effect, and I was just
Oh
curious
yeah,
because I don't have it on
yeah,
PC.
yeah. You can still find matches there. I think last time I played it was right around N7 day.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was about 2 months ago. But anyway,
yeah,
continue,
I,
Travis.
yeah, I think it's very underutilized and very, very fun. You mentioned using it in like a Fallout setting. I think that'd be a great uh, setting for like a Fallout DLC. They already did it in Fallout 3, right? With the what was the name of it?
When they
Um,
switched to Alaska.
no, and Operation Anchorage. I know that's a very controversial DLC. I loved it personally. I really like Anchorage, despite its flaws. But it's the other one, the other swampy one.
I don't know. I haven't played any DLC for Fallout.
Let me find it. DLC.
Welcome to the Google Crashers podcast.
Where Google Chrome crashes all the time.
No, a podcast where we search random things on Google and try to crash it.
Right.
Exactly.
Point Lookout, and it was Point Lookout. It was a DLC on the swampy coast of Maryland, and that's kind of like a similar theme, but not quite as much as Louisiana, New Orleans themed. Uh, there's been certain parts of media that have done it rather well. What was it like the Disney movie Princess and the Frog used it, and that was a lot of fun. But I'd like to see it more in video games.
Me too. I think you could do a lot of interesting things there, especially like I mentioned before, Fallout. Think about Fallout in the bayous of Louisiana.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is, and I will say, is that New Orleans in general is one of the more unique cultures of the United States. When you kind of look at the demographics around them, and then you look at New Orleans and kind of that unique French flavor surrounded by the traditionally Hispanic areas around it. Like I said, it derives a lot of unique culture to it. It makes for a great game setting or a great story setting.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely can see that. Fallout and New Orleans would be
Or
great.
GTA.
Yeah, GTA would be good too. Because I don't know about you, but nothing I love more is going down in the poor areas of New Orleans and shooting people and stealing cars.
I
Gotta
need a
soak
pen
up
to
that
drop.
awkward silence.
I
Gotta
know.
soak that up.
I just need a pin to drop. The kind of white guy wants to shoot everyone.
I had to say that because I wanted to just show just how awesome GTA in New Orleans would be. people in New Orleans would be like, what? You want to make a game about a white guy running around in New Orleans shooting people and stealing stuff?
Make a Mexican guy. We haven't seen any Spanish.
It's true.
GTA.
Well, I mean, they did have, obviously, they had black guy, GTA 3, right? Starring a black guy?
San Andreas.
San Andreas,
San Andreas,
yeah.
You even have Franklin in 5.
Yeah, and you have Franklin in 5, which, by the way, they did a study on the AI of the police officers in GTA 5, and they are biased against black people.
Well, yeah, they want to mimic real life.
Wasn't one of
That's actually false. They actually found out that actually wasn't true. It was actually based upon the richer areas versus the poor areas. Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and let's move on after that. Since we've been discussing developing games and good ideas and poor choices that developers have made in other realms, so I think kind of for this week, as our evergreen here, I want to talk a bit about like kind of what it's like to be in our thoughts and opinions on what it's like to be a developer, because obviously, if you just read the surface, you go and you Google, people's opinions on developers, you pretty much see one of two things: either they're greedy capitalists that just want to screw over us gamers, curses you, or they're overworked slaves under the boot of a publisher. Like
Hashtag fuck Konami.
Yeah, well, in that case, it may be true, but like oftentimes, like whenever David Gaider was the story about David Gaider leaving BioWare, someone was like, "Oh, it's because EA, because fuck EA, war EA, ah," and it's like, can you actually provide me some evidence on what EA has done to anger them? I don't know.
Right.
Anyway,
I think the problem is they assume EA fucks them over because EA's tried to do a lot of anti-consumer things.
Yeah, at the same time, you got to question how much is it EA and how much is it BioWare?
True.
Yeah, but my question is like kind of what is it really like to be a developer today, and kind of in our views, because obviously we all have different levels of research. I know from a kind of a programmer's IT, perspective of it. I actually have a lot of friends that are developers. I know their technical processes for their workload, like if anybody knows what the agile methodology is and scrum sprints and that sort of thing, I know what those are and how they operate. So I kind of know what their structure is. And I've been doing research over the past while just because I was curious on what exactly, like who has influence where. And this is one of the things reason why I want to bring up this topic is because I feel like it's something that's not really discussed is, where the publisher actually comes in.
Aren't they just basically providing money?
Yeah.
They provide money and, they kind of oversee the project, but I don't think they're like with their foots on the throats of developers the way people talk about it. I think they pretty much try to monetize the game.
Yeah. So what do you think, Travis?
I think that game developers are all evil individuals.
But what about David Vonderhaar? He loves us.
So to all the BioWare developers that might be following me on Twitter, I apologize for Travis's content. Please do not let that disclude you from giving me special perks and all the sponsorship deals that you've offered me. I don't think there's any BioWare developers. Oh no, actually, shit, there actually are. Never mind.
I think that it's unfortunate that the barrier to the cost barrier to video games is very unfortunate because it really kind of closes off a lot of innovation in idea, and risk taking is so discouraged in the industry nowadays that you just don't see a lot of new settings and a lot of new ideas.
I would say that's true in the AAA space.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of chances taken in the indie space.
That's the indie because the
I don't
indie
know.
space
That's
is
That's hit or
Yeah,
miss too, because like
that's
you
hit or miss
remember
too, right?
whenever everybody's doing the fucking like retro game thing, like oh we're
Right. Like
making a side scroller
it,
Metrovania.
indie is also, that's the thing, right? Like indie is also very averse to risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a big company, you don't want to risk anything, even if you have money, because stockholders. If you are a small company, you don't want to risk too much because bankruptcy, right? So it's a problem. I'm sad that it is that way. That we can't find a more middle ground where people, developers can kind of take a little bit more risk and try to find those quirky uh, ideas and settings, and build fan bases, unique fan bases over those. I'm tired of seeing just generic s- desert sandbox shooter number 3000.
Did you watch my video today, Travis? Because I basically read about that exact thing.
Well, that now that's one thing I will say, and this is from my understanding of essentially whenever you see it. By the way, a game producer, as far as I understand, is kind of like oftentimes kind of like a project lead. Essentially, he essentially has a list of so in not to get too specific and bore everybody with the agile methodology. It's all about iterative, you know, goals. So you have beginning and end. Here is like start of game development. Here is releasing the game. Agile more or less just states there's segmented goals throughout the process. To kind of just make sure it comes out in an evenly metered pace. It breaks things into chunks of develop this part of the content, check and make sure it works good. Develop second part of the content, test to make sure it's good. Okay, integrate that into the first part, make sure they mesh well, and move on and keep chunking things in. Well, the thing is that when you have like a producer, for example, like the guy that left BioWare in December, who's a producer, and essentially what that does is he's the guy that's kind of like he's checking feedback and marketing information on the game genre that they might be working on. He's checking the project goals, making sure everybody's on time for them, and kind
The
of
project manager.
yeah, not. I think they actually might have project managers. I don't know if they do or not. If not, producer's a project manager. Yeah, and he's essentially, unfortunately, has to go to different teams and might have to say, "Hey, I need you to do this by the end of the day." And oftentimes, usually the response is, "I'll get to it." Like he's the nuisance guy. But someone has to do that, or else they'll just fuck off forever and not get anything done. But so that's a producer. Developer sits at a cubicle for, depending on the period of the process, anywhere between 6 to 18 hours in front of a computer, coding, designing the levels with the software he's got, designing the characters, the animations, hard coding rules into the AI. A lot of boring stuff that a lot of people don't really want to get into. But the fact is that they tend to work long ass days especially towards the end when they're doing their sprints. Where they're actually working 18 hours a day trying to get back on track because the early parts they were delayed by 2 weeks. The thing is that what happens, and this is from what I understand, dealing with similar type of situations like that, how the publisher gets involved. And this is what I think, without having insider knowledge, just from having a similar type experiences. What essentially happens is, say a project is scheduled to take 3 years for development. Once a year, they'll have a conference call or a meeting with the publisher, show them what they've done so far, and the publisher will be like, "That looks good." Or they might throw in there, we would really like it if you would, have these extra things added in, like
Multiplayer in Dragon Age.
I don't think that was EA. I'm in fact almost certain it wasn't EA.
Well, maybe with well, yeah, because I think they said they even wanted
Mass
to Mass
Effect, it
Effect 2.
might have been. Might
Oh,
have been.
I remember BioWare said they wanted to add it to Mass Effect 2.
Oh, okay. So in both cases, that was almost certainly BioWare. And the reason why I say it was BioWare is because from the early stages of Dragon Age development, they kind of expressed their enjoyment of Mass Effect 3's multiplayer and wanting to kind of recreate that experience in a Dragon Age setting.
I kind of remember the surveys floating around when Dragon Age 2 came out too.
Yeah, so I really feel like that was not an EA decision, despite people saying that, and also with the microtransactions in there that obviously drew a lot of heat. I also don't think those were EA, despite people thinking that they might be. And the reason why I say that is because this is where your producer comes in, or your budget manager, or whatever, and may have some help from EA in determining the cost and what budget EA will allot them for post-launch support. You want those bugs fixed. Well, that means they have to retain developers after the launch of the game, which, by the way, that's another sucky thing of being a developer in a game. There's no post-launch support. Guess what happens to you after the game launches?
They blame the developer.
No. I mean, like, as in, game launches successfully, no bugs, it's clean, good job, everyone. That's a wrap. We made our money off of it. Now what?
Laid off usually.
Yeah, they either get laid off, or if they're a big developer, a big studio like BioWare, they might transfer the guys to another studio to work on another project. But they usually, like your mid-sized studios, lay you off. So you're now out of work. But aside from that, when it comes to after launch, post-launch support, they have to have some way of budgeting money for that might not be accounted for in the sales of the game. That's why they put in the microtransactions in a game like Dragon Age or Mass Effect. I don't think it's the best way to go about it, because you also have DLC that you can make post-launch money off of. But usually that DLC sales accounts for into the budgeting of the teams making the DLC.
I mean, I think it depends on how you do the microtransactions too.
Yeah.
For example, Call of Duty, they introduced microtransactions with what you call Black Ops 2. I remember they had some where you could buy camos, but they actually introduced like an RNG mechanic in Advanced Warfare, and it was very much pay to win. People didn't like that, but when they came with Call of Duty Ghosts, they just did camos, and I don't mean camos like they did with Payday. They were just regular Call of Duty camos. They were aesthetic. And people like these things. They actually buy the crates like you can do in CSGO. And actually, and you think about that, CSGO, it's huge there too. And people get excited over these crate openings, hoping to get the kind of camo they want.
Well, and I actually wrote last week, I wrote a blog post about the content conundrum of how unfortunate RNG content in a game is, like for Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Warframe, any of those things that you essentially introduce grind mechanics into the game that are designed to do two things: designed to increase the longevity of the player playing the game,
Destiny.
Post launch. Destiny does it too. Increase the I guess player retention, right? So it keeps them playing longer. But it's not because they're trying to give you more enjoyable time and experience, because if they wanted you to have a continued enjoyable time, they would do what something like The Witcher 3 did, where they essentially had, these new quests that felt fleshed out and, it felt like a seamless game, whereas instead you're doing the same repetitive action over and over again, hoping for a different result. By the way, that's the definition of insanity.
I was just about to say that.
It's this, and what they do is that does, like I said, it improves their audience retention, keeps the players playing longer, which it's, like I said, it's not for the sake of wanting players to enjoy the game longer. No, they're doing that because they know if they keep the player playing longer, there's a greater chance that they will spend money on microtransactions. The second reason they make the grindy mechanics is because, hey, it's a hell of a lot easier to make the same repetitive level rather than making 2 levels or 3 levels or 5 levels. You know, so if you can do the same thing and just introduce that RNG mechanic so the player has to keep grinding that same level and over and again, that's that many levels you didn't have to make.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Or they could do procedurally generated content, like look at Diablo. Diablo
Mm-hmm.
maintains a player community, and it's all procedurally generated. And people
Yeah.
play Diablo after for the post game grind and doing raids and stuff.
Well, Warframe is all procedurally generated too, so that's kind of their way of getting around it. But honestly, when it boils down to it, the gameplay itself does reach a point of repetition that actually can wear down players.
Yep, that's kind of I think what happened with me in Warframe. I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, and this is my thing with like games like Mass Effect or with Dragon Age. When I stopped playing Dragon Age, I played Mass Effect a lot longer because I was newer to the concept, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The
I
thing,
think we all put in about 1,000 hours, didn't we?
yeah, and here's my thing. I put 1,000, actually it's more like 1,200 hours into Mass Effect 3, and I did not have my manifest maxed out. That is at what point you have failed at balancing that grind issue. Whenever you have a player that plays for 1,200 hours and doesn't have everything.
Right, exactly, and that's it's ridiculous when you get like that in a game. There should be no reason for there should be no even with a game that has the grind of Mass Effect. Mass Effect had the variety there, but realistically, you should have been able to get everything. I would say in about 100, 200 hours. I think would have been realistic.
Yeah.
And I think that would have given everybody their value.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that whenever I looked at, going into Warframe, now Warframe, they do continually add content. The problem is that it's usually adding more content to grind, which if you've only got 5 levels that the players can grind over and over again, and you start off with 5 items to put in each of those levels, you know, you are mix and match them up so you don't have a guaranteed chance of getting said weapon from any level. And then you add 5 more weapons. And then 5 more, and then 5 more. Those 5 levels have only so many items you can add as a reward for those levels before you have such an abysmal chance of getting what you want. Players get frustrated and leave.
That's what happened.
And that's where Warframe's going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunate, but I don't think they seem to have this unfortunate feature creep is their issue on there. Is the feature creep is essentially where they introduce new item, new feature, new whatever, and then they're like, hey everybody, look how cool this is. Oh, it's got these bugs, that's okay, we're working on the next feature.
Yeah, I mean, in feature creep, I mean, it doesn't even have to be that bad. Battlefield 4 actually suffers really bad from feature creep. They keep adding more and more modes, and there's so many guns there that, you know, a lot of the old modes don't get played. There were already a lot of modes in Battlefield 4. I think there's like 12 modes now. And when you look at it, everybody basically, more people playing on consoles with more variety, but on PC, they basically play Conquest, Rush, TDM.
Mm-hmm.
But then they have, you know, obliteration and capture the flag and all this stuff. I think those are about the same moves they play on PC too. Or, I mean, on console too. But
and the thing is that largely when you break it down, in competitive games, you can get away with, you know, not having that. You can get away with the grindiness factor a little bit because it's not really a grind. You're not doing the same competitive, or you're not doing the same repetitive action. You are competing against other players. That's always dynamic. That's always changing because you can never predict exactly what the other player is going to do, right? So that's kind of fresh and new. Even if you have the same 5 maps, it gets a little boring after a while, but that can get away with having less content and still feel fresher. Whereas when you get co-op games like Dragon Age's multiplayer, Mass Effect, Warframe, Destiny, those games, hoping to dear God that they don't do that same thing with the Division, but they're probably going to do that.
Yeah,
I've already seen the gold and green drops and all that shit, so they're going to have that too.
yeah, and I mean, as long as the drop rate's right, I'm okay with it. But yeah, it does sound like it's going to be a problem.
Oh.
I want to touch on one thing too for those of us watching that were wondering what happened to Joe. He just updated us. He's having some ISP issues, so he will be back on hopefully next week.
Yep. Yeah, apparently Cox Internet was pulling a Comcast this week. Yes, it doesn't matter what ISP you are. I will throw Comcast under the bus any day of the week. I don't care. Cox Internet may have been acting up tonight. Still better than Comcast.
Well, there's two kinds of ISPs, right?
The good ones and the bad ones.
You have Comcast, and then you have the ISPs that wish they could get away with as much as Comcast does.
Yeah, basically. Yep. Comcast is basically the EA of the ISP industry. You know I'm right.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, is that ISPs are by nature monopolistic. It's a bunch of fuckery. Mm-hmm. They are by nature because that's the way they were kind of born into this world, is monopoly on the system, and therefore that's all they know. They don't understand what competition is. And that's why Google has fucked them up so bad, because they came in and said, hey, oh yeah, there's an incumbent ISP here that's offering really crappy internet. That's okay. We're just going to come in there and undercut you on price and go so far above your speed you can't even hope to compete.
You're just basically describing PC versus consoles right now.
And whenever he says so much above, he's saying between 10 and 100 times the speeds currently.
I'm not sure. I think I remember when I first read the story about Google Fiber in, I think it was Kansas City. They were saying the ISP there, their largest package was 5 megs. 5 meg download, probably under 1 meg upload, and it cost $80 a month.
For what? That's true.
Yeah, and Google walked in and said, okay, here's 1 gig symmetrical internet, 1 gig up, 1 gig down for $70 a month.
Yeah, they just shit
drop the mic. Yes, and Verizon and Comcast are actually all good friends with Konami.
Konami, Activision, and EA.
Yeah,
now Ubisoft.
See, here's the thing: is that Konami is one. They're a whole different. Whenever people are like, "Screw EA," EA's rated like the worst company. Like, I've heard so many people say the story about how bad EA is rated, and I'm like, how do they even fucking compete with Comcast? Comcast is the guys who the CEO walks out and says, well, we're justified in charging you overage fees because internet is like gasoline or electricity. It's we charge you based on that, because there's not two problems with that at all. The number one being that internet is not an expendable commodity like crude oil is. And number two, there's no way that I can, unlike with electricity or gasoline, if I use no electricity or no gasoline, I pay $0. Whereas internet, I use zero internet, I still pay, whatever their base fee is for that area. So I'm sorry, you can't really, that argument won't fly with me.
I mean, how do we run out of internet?
Yeah, no.
Travis, you're using all of the internet.
See, the thing is that those and the other thing is that utility companies like electricity and gas are regulated out the ass. Mm-hmm. ISPs really need that.
Yeah, they do. I'm starting to put in something to where they were basically trying to make it like a utility.
Who was that? FCC? Yeah, FCC. FCC was like their net neutrality stuff. They're really trying to make it. They classified them as Title II ISPs as Title II utility companies to hopefully regulate them more.
Can we just lay out the fact that data caps are bullshit? And there's no real reason for them to exist.
Previously, Zyphon and I had kind of this agreement in topic of that you should either have uncapped internet speed as fast as the speed will allow you to get, but a data cap, or you have a fixed speed amount with no data cap. I'm actually throwing that out the window. I don't think that's...
There's no reason to have either.
No, well, the thing is that I can fix speeds that I'm okay with paying prices for speed tiers. Data caps are arbitrary bullshit, and I think should be done away with.
Because they're basing most of it off of how much everyone else uses.
It's price gouging. There's it's not even based upon what most
Which
people
is
are
illegal,
using.
by the way.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm basing it on what my ISP says too, because my ISP doesn't charge you for going over it. But what they say is, oh, well, your data cap is there because that's what most people use. I don't give a damn what most people use. What's that got to do with me?
Well, that's the thing is that they're not even. I guarantee you that's not even what most people use.
Because they were telling me it was like 300 gigs.
Yeah, Comcast's whole 300 gig bullshit. It's like they're like, oh, 95% of people. I'm like, sorry, unless you can say that you are basing your data cap on 100% of your audience, you're full of shit. Because here's the truth: is that you stream one movie on Netflix at 4K resolution, which is going to be a standard at some point, by the way. One movie of that is going to use, could use several gigs of data. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much like you're saying, hey, you've got this new technology. Hey, we're going to give you, and Comcast being a cable provider will have their X1 streaming service that will stream at 4K at some point. You have your 4K TV to receive that stream, but sorry, you can't use it because you have a data cap.
Right, and I think we're gonna start seeing more of a thing with that as technology goes further. Things like I think the consoles being mostly digital distribution now. I think it's going to be a huge thing since consoles are really the thing in the U.S. and digital distribution is really becoming more popular.
Made a good point. 300 gigabytes per month is what 95% of the users use because that's what Comcast limits them to.
Pretty much. Facts.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, and this is the other fuckery of Comcast. Their X1 streaming service, which is not to be confused with their cable service, okay? Their cable service is an entirely segregate system. Their X1 is actually like a Roku box or something like that. It's streaming over the internet your TV footage, all right? Here's my major gripe with them, recently, is they've essentially, come up with this scheme, and they're not the only ones. AT&T's doing it, T-Mobile's doing it now too, where essentially if you stream X1's streaming service, it doesn't count against your data cap. Net neutrality was established so that no company could give priority transit to any other any sort of data traffic. It all had to be treated equal. You could not pay for fast lanes, you could not give priority or an otherwise anti-consumeristic access to certain content but not others. That's net neutrality in a whole. So what does AT&T, Comcast, and T-Mobile, well, T-Mobile's different, I'll get to that, but AT&T and Comcast do? They're like, so you have this data cap and you can't go over this data cap or else you'll get charged extra. Except if you use ours, because it uses our own local pipeline,
right. But the thing
which is totally bullshit.
This is the problem that you get whenever the owners have a vested interest in both the content and the content delivery service.
Right, yeah, I agree with that.
I honestly think that ISPs should be broken up with cable companies.
I agree. I think part of the problem
should be also broken
up
with
cell phones. You think about how cell phones
in general.
Yeah. You think about how cell phones were marketed, in 2001, 2002, when all this stuff was new. Most people had no idea what was really going on. And then, so it was normal. Okay, you have a limit on your minutes. Again, that's kind of bullshit too in the same respect. So then when they started adding data to your phones, they said, oh yeah, we should cap that too because, it's like minutes.
If you notice, and Verizon's a prime example of that. So whenever Verizon charge you for minutes, right, you either pay per minute, outright, or if you have a minute allotment, and if you go over that limit allotment, then you get charged per minute.
Yep.
And when they first introduced data, they were like, nobody's using that. Hey, it's unlimited. Just use whatever the heck you want. You just have to pay this extra flat fee for it. And then all these smarter phones came out and people realized, holy shit, I can use like Skype and not use any of my minutes at all. I just use it as data. And then all of a sudden, minute overages, not minute use, minute overages tanked, and therefore their profit margin. Yes, Verizon Wireless had a specific profit margin for their overages,
Right, that's the point I'm making.
and
They
that
didn't,
dropped. Yeah.
and they did that with the phones, exactly what you're describing.
Hmm.
And then I think the cable companies kind of just copied that with
Yeah, they
internet.
did. But and that's the thing is that and there
I
was
I
yeah.
don't
Go
know.
ahead.
Do any of you guys use Verizon?
No,
I
I
do.
have Sprint.
I
I
have
hate.
their I'm grandfathered on their unlimited data.
I well, okay. I can. Anybody who's grandfathered in any of the old guard companies, yeah, I guess I can see kind of a reason for them staying with them. But like, I hate Verizon. I
Oh
had
no,
such a bad experience with Verizon. I dropped them within a month,
Man, I used to
and
work for Verizon.
I still,
I don't recommend Verizon for nobody.
yeah.
I still
Here's
kept,
the thing.
I kept getting onerous charges for about 3 months after I stopped with them.
Yeah, here's the thing is that this is the thing is with Verizon is that whenever I first got on their unlimited data, I had might have had some insider knowledge about a certain promotion they were running, this talk and text plus data promo that gave you a $20 discount per line on the unlimited data plan. So I was paying $10 a month for unlimited data on both my wife and I's line. Unfortunately, about a month ago or so, Verizon, being the shits that they are, decided, hey, we really want people off of unlimited data, so we're going to up the unlimited data plan by $20 a month. So now I'm paying what everybody else was paying.
Right, because you didn't change your plan. I had that issue, and actually, I was on I forget what were they called before AT&T took over. I can't.
Singular.
Yes, I had Singular, and I actually had a plan similar to that.
Hmm.
And when AT&T came in, they didn't care about my grandfather plan. That's actually why I'm on Sprint now. Like I was on T-Mobile for a little bit, and then I went over to Sprint for
See,
that exact reason.
you could have taken them to court for that because just because the company got bought, that does
Mhm.
not void out the contract.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that until like years later. This happened like 2004.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
didn't know.
the thing is that yeah, they would be charging me $50 a month for unlimited data, but I actually still have that $20 discount. So now I pay $30, which is what everybody else was paying for data previously, where I was paying 10.
Right.
So that's why I still have them. How long I will,
I mean, they're
can't
still
say.
a damn good service. Like the quality of the service is great.
Yeah,
It's just their business practices are shit.
yeah, there's a lot of hinky shit. But my opinion, I think that content creation services like NBC, CBS, whatever, Universal Pictures, Viacom, those guys should be separated from cable companies, should be separated from ISPs.
They'll just
You know,
lobby together, and they'll still find a way to pay each other off.
yeah, no, but the thing is that right now you have Comcast is owned by Universal, and they are a cable and a internet provider. So therefore, they have a vested interest to not only promote their own cable service over their internet,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have a vested interest to for all of Universal's clusterfuck of like NBC that they own.
Mm-hmm.
They have this still thing that they like. They have a vested interest to promote that content. And there was actually a few things that I was hearing a long time ago about them potentially throwing shit out there that was like they were trying to make a lot of the old content from NBC easier to watch in some manner or another, and that got shut down really quick. But we've divulged off of the life of a developer so far.
And we went over.
I don't even know what the hell happened.
Yeah,
So
we're 9 minutes over.
yeah, we're 9 minutes over. So let's go ahead and wrap up here. So Kev, go ahead and give me your final thoughts, shilling, all that good stuff.
Shilling! I'm Kev. Everybody knows me, Kev the Gamer on YouTube. Hashtag Let's Get Travis and Joe on Twitch.
Yep.
Let's make it happen as soon as Travis ascends. Other than that, I'll be playing games. Well, hopefully playing more games because I've been on the job grind, throwing more applications out there because I want to make more money. So my video content might slow down this weekend. I'm still busy with school. Almost done. So yeah, check me out, Kev the Gamer. Kind of try to keep the videos to at least 3 a week instead of the usual 5 I've been doing.
Yep. Travis,
Oh, yes.
final thoughts.
Oh, I think we should, free the
For the whales?
free the proletariat developers from the iron grasp of the corporate producers things. Yeah, those people.
You fell asleep. That's terrible to the audience.
Epic fail on that one. You almost sounded like you were making some grand rabble rousing speech that was going to incite the consumer market to rise up against the corporations and their greed.
Yeah, whatever.
And then you stumbled.
You guys are lucky I'm even here. I've been sick all week.
Hey, that we would have had to cancel again, and then we would have sent people over to Florida to come find you and say, "Why the fuck are you sick?
Large men.
Stop getting bit by those giant damn insects, and you won't have that problem."
Those gators. That's what it is.
The gators, yeah.
And you guys would be not too happy if you lost your foot too. So
Yeah. Did you lose your foot?
no.
No, these are the gators.
We're gonna call him Peg Leg. R.E. Travis.
Don't get him started into R. He might get R on the wrong idea, and now he got all these free AAA games.
Oh my. Anywho, so as everybody knows, I'm Angelus de something or another. I don't know. At this point, I can't say Mortiel anymore because there's someone else out there that is using the name Mortiel for their stuff, unless they're talking about me, in which case I'm okay being a saint. It's just saying.
No.
But you guys probably are watching this on one of my channels right now, or you may be watching it tomorrow on the VOD. As we always say, if you enjoy watching the podcast with some video gameplay, then go over to Kev's channel. You'll have links in the description of either one of our videos to go check it out over there. See his gameplay of him horribly sucking at video games while you're listening to the podcast. Or if you want to
teabagging people in games.
Yes. Or if you want to see, major stupidity here with a troll face right below me here, then you can come check it out on my channel where you can see us making goofy faces while we're talking. Either way, we'll go ahead and sign off for this week, and we'll go ahead and catch you guys next week on the Pixel Crashers podcast.
Praise him!
Praise who? Hold on a second. Who are we praising? You're not praising Gabe anymore.
No. I just wanted to say something at the end because
And you had nothing to say.
I gotta catch you. I gotta catch you.
Praise our Lord and Savior
of some sort. He's gonna be a preacher one of these days. Okay, guys, we're out of here. Peace.
Later.